of damage that Gladiator's been able to do, they've just been looking for those eliminations. We talked about this early on as well, Jackie, in the sense that eliminations desperately what you need. This is what you can confirm in these games. This is what you know you can handle, and I appreciate that they're just fighting for them.
Exactly. It's the one part that you can control just by playing aggressive, playing confidently, and guaranteeing those eliminations. And that's what they've done. They've played for the elims here. Now they can try and see what they can squeeze out in terms of placement, because the other teams are doing the infighting for them. And it's whittled us down to only 2 players, really, you've got to worry about. Oh man, Mad Bulls licking their lips at the prospect of this one. They do find Meku. He's exposed himself from behind the rock. Now it's simple pickings. As long as Mad Bulls could reset, you do have an edge. The battle of attrition is in your camp. They're setting themselves up for a chicken dinner, but Zerich will expire.
For Duxan, this is going to be a very, very important game for them. You know, 3 eliminations, it's not ideal. You go out this with a second place, 6 points, 9 points total. It doesn't feel great, but if you're able to get your chicken dinner off the back of this in a 2v3, you know, 13 points on this match feels really decent coming into the rest of the day. And with the blue pushing in, it is very, very ideal for them, but the Mad Bulls just look so absolutely clean today. They looked at yesterday as well, and they picked themselves up yet another chicken dinner. That is 3 in the space of 2 days.
That's huge from Mad Bulls. A complete change of pace from what we were seeing from them, looking an awful lot better. And also now, Blank, it goes back to our point about the fact that you don't want to leave it up to another team to decide your fate in the survival stage. You want to make as many points as possible in the limited number of games you have to play. And that's what Mad Bulls are doing in droves.
Yeah, it's a stressful game for Mad Bulls as well. Not an easy one. You can see that they're not super excited about this because it's more of a relief than anything they're able to pull off that chicken dinner. Playing within Lipovka, there was so much infighting in that area, getting forced out by the Gladiators. I think it was a very wise move for them to actually just send across from the rock side in the water toward those buildings. Yes, they had to fight for it versus Malise Esports, but they were confident to do that, and it sort of gave them that winning position. I think things got dicey as soon as they started to see the circle move towards the north side. Like, have we made a mistake? Did we make the right call here? But you just got to follow through. 44,000 kilometers travel for Gladiators once again. These rotates are coming through quicker. They're more confident with them. I don't know what happened between the space of yesterday and today, but there has been some serious conversations between these lads on the team.
Something's happened, you know. I don't know if it happened at the hotel breakfast or where it was, but it seems like Gladiators have got their heads screwed back on, and they're playing some really nice PUBG Mobile today, Blank. You know, this is exactly what we wanted to see in terms of them giving us a good game, showing us they deserve the invite in the first place and that they're able to make some moves here. What more will be in store for us though, and can they keep it up? We'll find out. Let's get back to the desk with the #1 Gladiators fan. It's Jason Kaplan.
Sorry, I think Jackie misspoke there. Mixspoke. That's
Jackie mixspoke.
The #1 Gladiator fan ever. But we have to say, it wouldn't be Gladiators if they didn't show up exactly when they needed to kind of advance on through in an event. And hey, you know, credit to them, another massive game for them in terms of eliminations, great positioning as well. They were able to crash an NBA Esports and kind of do the exact same thing, just the other way around from the prior match. But also, Mad Bulls, man, like, there's so many things to talk about. Oh, you know what? We're not gonna talk. No, let's do it. Max Ben talked about Gladiators, and then we'll hop to what I have ready for Colaris.
Okay, Jason McSpoke. But okay, Gladiators. I didn't want to talk about them because I didn't want to curse them, Jason. Okay, that was the reason.
Oh yeah.
Now I see. Okay, but right now, Gladiators, of course, playing that high ground position, able to leapfrog in the position that Mad Bulls left open after they regrouped from that 2-2 split, was a really good spot. And also, one thing I enjoyed Colaris from Gladiators is they tried to go for that high ground on the road. They tried to fight Enbest. They tried to also fight Duxan, which ended up not working out. But I think that if you're not in the city, you want to avoid a lot of that fight happening in Lipovka. Going for that high ground does give you a bit of an advantage. It didn't quite work out because Duxan had such a good angle, but I think that was going to be a game-winning play if they could survive until the later stage.
And we
Honestly,
also,
I mean, yeah, go on.
ahead. No, you go on.
I was going doolally in this game, if I'm honest, Jason. I was going crazy because how often do you see a basically close to Lipovka end like this? And for teams to try and manage their way through that, as you say, with Gladiators doing really well in terms of the eliminations and then going to the west for the rotate to try and make this work. Never mind, Mad Bull's winning off a 2-2 split across the rocks of north of Lipovka and in Lipovka. Where do you begin? There's so much to talk about.
Well, obviously the smoke wall that Maxman brought up while we saw Mad Bull's able to transition with the PL smoke wall, as he coined it, to get through safely was something to be seen. But if we're talking about how teams got into Lipovka, let's also mention Alter Ego, Kalaris.
Oh.
Do it! Come on.
What are they doing? All right.
You got really close to the mic there.
I got really close to the mic. Okay, they're the Lipovka dropping team. Where were they? Okay, they moved west, right? They got lost one to heaven as they were walking through to heaven, which is ridiculous. And then they moved north, and then they have to swim all the way back to Lipovka. They are lost at present. They are taking, I said it before this game, constantly taking risks here in PUBG Mobile. They're playing a very risky style. They've got splits. They're walking where they shouldn't be, going where they shouldn't be. And eventually, yes, they salvaged this, but only because teams that had track of them swimming probably was Pasija, but they got kind of rocked up on Gladiators and kind of lost in the mix. So they were allowed to come back up on the shore of Lipovka. Am I taking crazy pills? Anyway, yeah,
Lost him.
I'm done.
Well, not to mention, you also pointed out, too, when we were watching, that Gladiators is probably the only team that could see them rock up on the beach, but they were about at that 400-meter distance mark away, so potentially not seeing them. Obviously, Melise was in Lipovka, potentially not looking towards them, and we even saw Kissu like, wait, what are you guys doing in that building? How did you guys even get here?
Yeah.
He's going mad. I've never seen him like this.
Melise was like, who is he? What's going on next door? And suddenly, they were just... Anyway, I'm done.
You know what? You know what, Kalaris? You need to cool down by playing some of the Frost Festival currently going on within PUBG Mobile. You can revel in the exhilaration of gliding down the slopes in a snowboard and using snow mounts like X-Men talked about yesterday, potentially turning people into snowmen as well. Make sure you guys load up PUBG Mobile, download the new update, and participate and play. Because also while you're playing, we do have the 2023 Popularity Annual Gala happening with PUBG Mobile introducing a brand new competition, exclusive honorable rewards for you guys at home to participate and win. It's all kicking off between November 15th and December 15th, so make sure you guys are getting into the game and potentially able to win some rewards you can show off to your friends. Also, while you're playing in this one, don't forget about the Pagani collaboration happening within PUBG Mobile as well. You can rev the engine with the iconic Pagani Imola and Zonda R models, which I believe, Kalaris, are you ready to be salesman yet again? Tell us the
740 brake horsepower. You got a V12 engine as well as 710 Newton meters of torque, Jason. It's a car for you, but it's very expensive in real life.
Well, my question is, can I fit in the car? Because we all know I'm extremely tall.
Probably you cannot, actually. You're probably too tall.
Okay, well, that's a shame. Maybe we can get special order one and make one for me. And also, the last but not least, before we head to a break here, the new RP-A4 Victory Dance, which is available now. You guys can show off your victories with the PMGC vibe and also use your Victory Dance to cheer for your favorite PUBG Mobile team. And we all know who people are voting for. Max is all aboard the Gladiator train, but we have to wait till that train takes off after the side of a short break. Well, Max, I know how you are the biggest fan of Gladiators, but luckily for you, we don't have to talk about them too much more because it looks like with the points they've gotten these last 2 matches alone, that should almost guarantee them a safe position into our last chance. However, it does get easier from there. Keep in mind, it's only 16 teams advancing from this into that, and it's only 5 teams advancing from the last chance to get back into the PMGC Grand Final. So a lot of work to come for the Gladiators and obviously a lot of other teams out there. But as we are about to head into our second Erangel, my question is this. Kalars, Alter Ego, are we going to see a word rotation again?
Maybe. I think it depends on the playing path. I think they're probably going to... If the playing path doesn't favor Lipovka, I think they're going to try and go for cars and maybe fight someone. We'll see.
Okay. Well, thank you for your contribution here, Max. Ben, we're going to have it to our commentators to kick off our second arrow of the day, Jackie and Blake.
It's interesting because Max always just makes such thought-provoking points blank. It feels hard to kind of, even regurgitate what he said as it's just so big-brained.
Yeah, you can't quite, grasp it a lot of times, and you do need to watch it back a few times afterwards and just really get the notes in there, understand what's going on. But I'll have to do that after the show, I think, as well, really.
Well, it was a big segment. It was a big segment.
Yeah.
We don't have time right now to... I'd have to get out the notepad.
We can't break
some
it down.
highlighters. Yeah. No, it's just not possible. It's just not possible. But obviously, Jason just said Gladiators will win, so I get where he's coming from.
Yeah. That was very clear that Jason said that Gladiators would win again. It's definitely going to be a Gladiators first place chicken dinner on this one. I think that they're just playing out of their minds right now. I don't know what's gotten into them. What's quite frustrating about this, though, is that they're getting some flashbacks to last year a little bit, where they made it past the survival stage into last chance and then got pipped at the post over towards 5th place. And I don't want all the thunder to come now. I would quite like some of it to be reserved, keep a little bit of that lightning in a bottle for the last chance phase. But again, they've just started stepping up now. I don't know what I'm talking about, really. Keep going, I guess, for the time being.
I do like the idea that you've gone, okay, well, look, you're doing pretty well right now. Let's slow that down.
Slow it down.
Look, if you get too big for your boots and set the bar too high, you're not going to make it there again. And they're like, this is interesting. You are right.
The thing is, we have such an intimate relationship with this team because we commentate them all the time right over in EU. So we sort of know their tendencies. They can be a frustrating squad to watch a lot of times, but there are a lot of
confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. There are a lot of other great teams in this lobby so far at the moment. I mean, Reject have certainly started to pump things up just a little bit. I don't think we're quite at Reject levels of Group Green so far, but we're definitely getting there. And I mean, it all came from that simple interview that Sarah gave, which was literally the most base thing he could have done, which was, we're not going center enough. And then they went center and won a bunch of games. They're doing that again here. It seems to be working reasonably well too. So I think that they've just kind of shedded that mentality of like, it's not going too hot for us right now. Let's just go center. We'll just play our game and see what happens. And I think that's what a lot of teams are starting to do now, which is really, really good to see. You have to get out your own head here, especially anyone who's in Group Green right now in this last chance scenario. You just have to play out these matches. I was going to touch on Alter Ego. I'm not gonna, and it's tainted, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen that team do a lot better, but we'll wait. We'll wait and see.
We'll see how things lie at the end, right? Because I think we've kind of beaten the horse on that one, really, in the way the games.
They've already been beaten.
That's what I mean, but it's just not worth it. But it is a shame. I do agree with you in that sense, where it feels like, especially for sort of the storyline and the narrative as well, with like the interview we had with Rosemary way back on, I believe, day one of the entire event, and how they were looking like they were playing. I was expecting a landfall for him, Blank. I was expecting it to go well and for him to go from strength to strength. But they were definitely struggling today. What have they got up the chops? Anything hidden? Anything else? Maybe we'll see. If it's going to come out, this is probably the best time to do it, right? You're kind of leaving yourself with very limited chances. We've got 3 games, this Erangel and then 2 Miramars, and basically preceding that, that's the end for you to actually accumulate any points. You're just leaving it in the hands of other teams. So We'll find out. We'll see where we're going with it. Mad Bull's been looking a lot better, though, Blank. It's been fun to watch Mad Bulls, which is nice to say. Even if they don't look exactly ecstatic every time we see him on camera. Tulicker, honestly, didn't look too pleased with his win, but I think that was mostly just like stress and relief of going, okay, we needed it. At least we have a win.
Yeah.
You know, if they can just keep that up, that's probably the ideal scenario. But they need to drop that stress. They did seem a bit on edge.
Yeah, come on. We need to get the team masseuse in, right? You know, massage those worries away, because right now I do think they should be a little bit more elated than they actually are. I know that sounds crazy. I have just said in a different manner, be happier, which isn't always as easy as it sounds a lot of times, as we know. And I think for Mad Bulls, realistically, they're doing really well. And I think they should be proud of themselves so far. I think they also understand that they need to keep a little bit of lightning in the bottle saved away for that last chance phase. Right now, I think they should be very pleased with where they've placed. They're currently in first. Obviously, Influence Rage still has another day to play. And I think, all things considered, by the end of it, Influence Rage will be on top in terms of the standings. But Mad Bulls certainly done more than enough to secure their position at this point. The rest of these games now, for them, it should just be study, right? Maintain this kind of play style, maintain this kind of pressure on the rest of the squads, because more than likely you are going to have to play against quite a few of these teams again in the last chance. So the more they can stake their claim on positions around the map, the more they can stake their claim on these rotations and be a team that some of these other squads may be a little bit scared to run into. You do have that small advantage in the last chance where you have that kind of don't mess with me factor.
Don't mess with me. God, it's like a late night walk home, Blank. And you're like, well, I do not want to mess with that man. I mean, that's a good vibe to give off, you know. It definitely would increase your protection a bit.
It's true, yeah. I mean, I just say it to myself as I'm walking down the street sometimes. That's how it works.
Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with me. People are like,
the idea
Daddy, that guy's talking to himself.
That's what I mean. Just muttering under your breath. Don't mess with me, mate. Don't mess with me.
Yeah.
People just walking by. Excuse me, sir. Do you need help? Don't mess with me.
Don't mess with
All
me.
right.
Yeah, it's less that I'm giving off hard man vibes and more that I'm giving off that I need to be in an asylum vibes. Which isn't ideal, but it seems to work.
Hey, look, to each their own, Blank. You know, unorthodox strategies do seem to work best. If your enemy can't prepare for it, you know, how can you? I suppose.
Yeah.
In some way, that's a sentence.
He's done a 720 kickflip roundhouse. Oh my lord!
Oh,
didn't see that coming. The standard is a 360.
Yeah, this is wild. Look at the man doing ollies in the car.
That's illegal. But
Right, put the skateboards down.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
we need to get back in the game here, and some of these teams definitely need to get a rolling. Certainly towards that bottom side of the lobby, we're looking at N-Hyper, Udo Alliance. Nigma Galaxy sort of are disappointing us so far, I would say. And I mean, they're on our screens right now. Regiocio will take down Lord from Nigma Galaxy. And again, they keep just hemorrhaging members, I would say, on their rotates. You know what? I didn't actually get to talk about this last game, but I will talk about it now, is that some of their rotates feel extremely greedy. I think that last match, most of the teams on that south side realized that, look, if we're on the edge already, I mean, they were rotating in from, what was it, Milta. They were battling out versus Inco early on. I think in that case, you just have to slow push your way in towards the circle. You're potentially not going to get a high placing off the back of this, but they could have easily taken up where Duxan was playing. Remember, Duxan got themselves a second place. Decent, good stuff. Yet they just drove around in that one vehicle, dropped out for a second one, lost Coops in the process, kept driving around to try and find another central position. I think at that point, you just have to realize that this is not working out. Teams aren't just going to let you free roam anymore.
No, it did feel like one of those where, you know, you're kind of thinking, you've thrown that away a little bit. You know, you did have a potential to try and see what you could actually get out of the game. Whereas instead, I agree with you, the rotation was a little bit careless, and potentially even just the idea to jump out at that point. You know, you're only going to delay yourself even more in terms of like the startup time for the vehicle to actually get away, right? And it just meant they went from a 4, stuck in a very small camper van, to a 3, still sharing just the one small camper van. Wasn't ideal. A couple of pot shots been going out here, though. We've seen a little bit of damage coming across. Mad Balls have suffered one knock as well, so at least they're seeing what they can do to patch up the situation. Here's one for you as well, Blank. When we saw that first knock, it was Raging OCO in the car, and he bonneted someone. Call that Road Rage OCO.
Oh, yes. I like that. Yeah, go on. We love to see it. He was doing an ollie in the car over his head. It was good stuff. We enjoyed it. We love to see it. For Reject, not quite towards the central right now, but a single elimination, that'll do the trick. They'll be happy, pleased with that one. DX Xavier also pretty pleased their position up towards Severny, right? You know, they don't drop Pachinki, but they get themselves a fairly good position to work their way out from. They've got a lot of positions they're currently holding on to. Now, DX Xavier, typical rotational path up towards this northeast side. So for them, again, we'll be going for something like that. Gladiators are just cutting straight through them, though. A bit of a dangerous push, I would say. I mean, you still have Tixi and Matic on the backside here with Kitsune and Meku going for this scout early on. You can see them starting to get a little bit squeezed here by the hydraulic press of teams, and the rest of the squad just is nowhere near to support. This is a greedy rotate, and I think for anyone in this location, I would be trying to spot out some of these stragglers, trying to take pot shots towards them as they move through. Again, Ralph out of the vehicle, taken down by Nasa. This is very bad news bears right now for Enigma Galaxy, and I think this is something that we saw over towards their group stage as well, is that at the start, doing great. You know, happy days for Enigma Galaxy. Some strong rotations were coming through for this team. However, when you looked at them further in towards the group, their rotations were getting read so easily, time and time again. I think that's the final player from Enigma Galaxy, about to go down soon, but Reject taking a lot of knocks of their own. Gladiators barely surviving themselves, good amount of damage. Meku's on the side, Swan tries to swing out, lovely nade, will take down Meku, and now it's just Matic to try and hold down the door.
Well, that's a nice trade, actually. And he's played it smart. He set himself up so that he could try and nade. I thought he was going to get the first off on the Meku with it, but instead engages towards Matic. Matic's basically as good as gone here. No HP, nothing to defend himself with. All off the back of Cluck's nades there. So nice retake on the compound. That was smart in the way he used his utility. And that's unlucky for the Gladiators. So Jason Kaplan's prediction there not coming true, Blank, because they've gone down without a single elim on that one. Got a bit too big for their boots.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But they've slowed it down, as I asked them to. Well done. You know, this is more the Gladiators we're used to. You know, going down in the first 2 stages. That's great. Brilliant. Now, do something a little bit more next game. Maybe revert back to, you know, making not the greatest rotations. To be fair, that wasn't bad by any stretch of the word. I quite liked it. Unfortunately for them, I think you make that rotation a little bit too late. You've got players that are not quite on with the vibe there in the backside with Matic and Tixi, who are not up front and personal with Kitsune and Meku. And you just get shot at by teams on the side trying to get in towards that warehouse that UDO Alliance, quite frankly, had already had a lot of control over. Could have gone a different way if Meku maybe had found that second shot, but like you said, some great nades coming out from Cluck there on UDO Alliance. In the meantime, let's have a look at where some of these other teams are playing. MBE Sports up towards that northeast side. Not a huge amount of points found, but they're consistently in the game, right? And I think that's something that's great to see so far on that side.
Yeah, they've been making a lot of cameo appearances, you know, even in situations where it's just 1 or 2 elims and they stay alive. It feels that they're always popping up to be a little bit annoying, nip at teams' heels and try and farm the odd points here and there. This is one that feels like it's just a matter of, you know, the chase at the minute. Feels like you're being forced further and further back, and Rejects know they're being hunted on this one, trying to play with at least some map geometry to give them cover, as NASA are definitely roaming quite far out and looking to gain a good understanding of where everyone is stationed, using the reconnaissance of Xenox here with the one vehicle as a bit of a scout, and then having a backup position to fall back towards. Freak's actually still alive as well, Blank. All right, yeah, so that's just the one man that remained. I mean, his entire team basically got picked to pieces instantly. So I suppose it's best case scenario, how far can he go, right? Because looking at a placement game with this one, it's pretty early. Going to be a while on the stopwatch before we come back to that point.
Yeah, I do think it definitely comes back to that case of Enigma Galaxy. A lot of their rotations getting read into towards the end of their group and not making too many adjustments off the back of that. Again, even in their group, there was a lot of feeder teams down towards the bottom as well, which just allowed them to make these rotations. And I think you try and do the same thing again here in the survival stage, where every single team is very willing to take shots and has great gun skill. Remember, these are the best teams in the world, all fighting out for a place in the grand finals to really display what their region, what their team has to offer to everyone that wants to watch. So I think that for Enigma Galaxy, again, it's just a case you can't just randomly rotate over heals. You need to have a bit of scouting going on. You need to ensure you know exactly where some of these teams might be playing, so you can angle yourself in such a way that you can cross and be out of the line of sight of some of these squads that might take shots towards you. If we see it again on that next match from Enigma Galaxy, where they make a random rotate like that and start losing players out the back of the vehicle, I would be fairly remiss to say that this is another team that's feeling like they're going to be in the bottom 8, because I don't sense an adjustment coming through tomorrow.
No, I don't know how you'd give the whole squad a facelift in such a short space of time, right? I don't really think there is enough adjustments that could be made to really change things around quick enough. That's the problem. It feels like we're already getting to that point where, you know, the fine line blank of squads that haven't already accumulated points, especially from Group Green, right? With how tomorrow is going to go, you're not even being there to make a case for yourself, just having to sit pretty and sit on your laurels of the points you've already accumulated. Definitely for a good majority of our squads now, we're seeing that they haven't been able to cut the mustard, haven't been able to really build enough points. But there's been a bit of a change positively for a few of them. At the minute, though, we'll see how things go right here, right now. We'll stick to the facts that we're being given. Again, Reject Tokyo look to try and get themselves a bit more center and try and set up early. Melissa also on the move down, but most likely have to bypass their way through DX. Roadside setup from MBEs as well, as they've got contact. Inko taking damage from quite far away. The Mini 14 pounding the pressure out and buying them enough time to go back on the road. They've got the ridge as well, so you're covered from the road. They don't have to worry about getting tapped in the head just yet, so they can get Mondo back up. But what's the game plan here? How are they going to play this one?
Yeah, I think your difficulty comes in the fact that, you know, you're getting pushed in by the blue. It's stage 4. It will hurt. You sort of need to make a move soon, but Nasa's sort of unwilling to give up this position on the eastern side. They know how important this compound is to them over towards this eastern side of the circle. They don't just want to let a team get through for free. MBE Sports, on the other hand, decide that, look, we're going to take shots over towards Inko. Becker in the way, gets absolutely crunched, but lives off the back of that. Grazed by the vehicle, but not out yet. Becker continues to take shots and will finish it there and then. Broken leg regardless.
Man, okay. Big balls are fire as damage is done onto the vehicle, and he tries to stand his ground. Becker quick on the medic maneuvers, trying to get the heal in. Meanwhile, when Lease, they're being attacked. DX have crashed onto him, but DS, they've crashed more literally just straight into the faces there, hitting the shots one by one. Melissa expiring as they've been stung by the Scorpions, it seems. Blank unable to defend from that one. DX can reset, pick clean the corpses on the floor now as well, and reset the utility they've got to work with, so they're going to be content. Meanwhile, back on the move, Xenox, he's been pretty damn quick with his scouting. He's been able to take some point man positions and look to get the damage out early. Again here, setting his focus towards the bridge. Wants to put pressure on Squash, who's so low outside the play zone as well. So a single bullet he was hoping for, try and make that elimination his, doesn't go his way. Backs off with at least the read and tries to play with the rest of the team. Vitali, he's got a read on him. Trying to take a couple of shots off, but doesn't want to do this as a solo. Blank. Playing smart, knows he still has a team to work with, even if it just is the 3 of them.
Yeah, Blue's really being the big pressure point right now for Inko, because they've got to move further in, but they know as soon as they start to head over towards the top side of this lip, they're going to be in angles of a lot of other teams that are inside the lobby. Freak here trying to hold his own up towards the Wizard Tower. You can see off towards his western side, you got Duxan as well, but Becker very happy to try and take this fight with an incredible incredible hold versus these other squads. Freak, though, takes down Vitali, looks for another, but won't get it and will fall himself. So Enigma Galaxy come away from this game with a 1 single point up to 6 now. So a 2-point average for Enigma Galaxy so far feels pretty horrible. Quest get way further into this game than they have any others, and that's saying something considering we still have 12 teams alive. We see Procedure Evos off towards that central arena alongside with Reject and End Hyper. This could be a great game here for Evos and starting to get some of that points potential on board.
You'd like to see him have a good game as well. The talent that's there on this roster at times, man, feels so powerful. When it's a good sort of mix-up for them as well, when they come in playing off each other's comms very nicely, it's very fun to watch. So having a center position, having firearms in their hands as well, we'll see if they can bring the heat, if they can command respect the longer this one goes on. FaZe back on the move as well, looking to set themselves up as the smokes will be cast out bit by bit. Redface looking like he wants to try and at least have info on this, get the eyes on the situation. The engagement here, though, is pretty easy to clean up versus what remain of Inco. One by one, they have been broken and bruised there. So the Brazilian side removed from the situation now as they'll go out again. That's unlucky in the end there. Inco, of course, fought hard to even make it here, Blank, and they are getting a little bit bullied. Similar sort of things have been happening to Alter Ego. Again, pressure applied on them. Fnatic from the side at least assists where possible, but he's got to scurry off, got to reset on this one now.
Yeah, it's good potential here for them to hold out DXavier, right? But at the moment, it's not looking too good. Holds on the spray from quite a while, but at least does find the shots over towards Lamborghini, laying him low. Outside the circle will delay them a lot, making this very uncomfortable for the squad of DXavier to make it in. Procedure Evos taking shots over towards FaZe, who are currently huddled up over towards a very, very small shack at the moment. The shots even coming through from Spec here on Nasa. But Procedure Evos currently sat at 28 points in 11th place. Is a team that definitely needs to put some more on the board here. I think for Procedure Evos, they have a lot of history on this team, right? And I think a lot of Indonesian fans would be very excited to see this team go through to the PMGC Grand Finals, specifically just to be able to see the twins there on the grand stage once again. But 28 points, that won't cut the bacon just yet. They need a little bit more on board, and with this very central position they currently hold on to, this is a fantastic game to rack up some big elimination points, to rack up themselves a good amount of placement points too. You know, this should be a second, third, first place game guaranteed.
It needs to be. It needs to come to fruition in that manner. Setting themselves up nicely on this one. So can they coax it out? Can they force a big point scorer from this one? And what's going to happen here in the close quarters engagement with so many teams shoulder to shoulder, all pushing further down? As soon as that zone starts nipping at their heels as well, it will cause problems. Isn't much breathing room, so you've got to fight for what you want. Pushing in now on Reject, looking to try and swoop in and steal the compound from underneath them. The nade will aggress first. Julo ready with the shotty as well, firing off buckshot from the DBS. Meanwhile, the building is burning. Lufa waits up close. Ooh, didn't even see that one, Blank. Swings around the corner, hits him, takes him off his legs.
Hello.
Genosio turns for the back door as well. Read this fight well, Blank, but he's been peeked from the window, takes half HP off him. Just waiting now on the off angle, tries to back nade whilst his teammates are fighting tooth and nail. Nade's going down. Who else wants a piece of this fight?
What is this? There's 3 teams on the same compound. Regioso sends out the side into the vehicle to get himself some better angles. He's fighting for his life at this point in time. Spec moves in, Hoxie's half HP, and Regioso's out on the edge. Surely he spots Junie, but he doesn't inside the smoke. And now Duckshan have another battle to get through. Need to get more players back up on their feet, but they're falling so quickly. Just Hoxie and Junie left alive. Junie, a veteran of these high-scale tournaments, but Nasa move in at the best opportune time. Will pick themselves up 9 eliminations off the back of this bad boy too. 2 players left alive, but on the southern edge, this is pretty decent stuff.
Okay. That was an intense fight. That one was a lot easier. That's a slay down there, as we see both of Alter Ego's last remaining members quickly packed up and swept away. beautiful, man. Even in the way that Tokyo tried to play it with rejects bouncing back and forth, right? We saw OCO, smart heads-up plays at least. Even though they go down in the fight, you could see the gun skill, the mechanics there were out in full force. Nice intense compound crash, though, leads us into the rest of the game as FaZe again continue applying pressure. Chow's been overwhelmed, gets bitten to pieces. It's actually Evos are able to steal away the final tag onto that. So getting the extra elim for their troubles. Parajin, though, will be put down in the ground as he's picked off by FaZe. Now starting to make their move into the center, getting themselves closer and closer and just trying to play off whatever geometry will actually provide some sort of protection for them. And Torres, suspicious about the smokes as well, knows that there could be someone lurking, waiting to peek. And he's got contact on Star. Quick flick there, hits the head blank and shuts the man down.
Yeah, very nice little shot there and pick up from FaZe. This is a really difficult area of the map to play, honestly. You see a lot of teams play this one out. You realistically just have the tower here. There's a slight dip as we head down. It's almost unnoticeable, but it does give FaZe a significant advantage, in which case they can take shots over towards DXavier. The difficulty is the fact that so much of the western side of the circle is still in play here, that Pasija Evos have a massive advantage. Despite that, FaZe is not letting that up. And it's so surprising we're not seeing Pasija Evos take a little quick peek over towards this eastern side. See if they can pick themselves up some more eliminations. Right now, they're currently running on 12 placement points, 16 elims. This is a game where you want to pump those elims up, even if it means you get yourself a second place. But I can see why they wouldn't want to give up the gas station here. But maybe just letting one player out on the loose, you know, sending to the side, find a quick pot shot over towards FaZe, because currently it's a 4-player team. They have a chance to try and take down Pasija Evos in the endgame.
Big chances. Definitely
There it is.
Open opportunity for this one. The swing into the favor of Evos now, though. Nice first tag down the hill. Connection across. DX suffering from it as Luxy will be able to spray his way in. Gets the tap off that we needed to see. So the compound control still firmly in their favor, and they're starting to clear out the players that were edging closer towards them. FaZe, meanwhile, still down towards the ridge side. Mormon and Malaya playing together as they start to make their move up, close on in. You've got a couple of angles of connection here as well. Spec being one of them as he's firing off the warning shots. And then, for Udo Alliance, there's actually a bit of a chance here to just be a fawn in the side. If you're not cleared, you're so far back down towards the ridge. As FaZe come pushing up, you could try and get stuck into it, especially if the timing works for the push down from Spec and they draw his attention. Lots of small nuances on this one, but the big focal point is just the fact that Evos are in a great position to try and command the game. Ooh, rough recovery mission there.
Very much so. Chloe just goes down. Link's fine Spec as he makes a rotate through. Pasija Evos now up to 5 eliminations, looking for a little bit more. And they have to push for more here because, you know, a 5 elimination game with a chicken dinner, it's all right. 15 elims, 15 points, sorry, total is decent. But, you know, pumping that as hard as you can here. They know they want more points. It's a very good initial nade that's sent out. But FaZe is on the back line. They're not looking to give this game up. Another amazing nade on the predict over towards G-Fan. And Redface is just sending these over and over again. Another one will take down GK first. Now just FSS left alive. It will be Redface to stand out for this one. One knock goes over towards Luxy with the 5 eliminations on board. Nade sent over the top, over towards FaZe. One of the final teams alongside with Oliolio over on Udo Alliance, looking for that second place placement point steal.
This is where you've just got to shut things down, close it out. Don't let mistakes start to get out of hand. FaZe fighting tooth and nail though, bombarding down onto Misery. He's forced to hit the deck, so belly down to the ground, drops himself into the vehicle and tries to drive out of there, keep himself safe. Susceptible to the shots though, but goes for the getaway. If we can see the rest, FaZe will at least have a fair fight in the 2v2 in terms of the players that are currently up. Evos are going for their recovery as well. I want to grab Link, have some additional additional numbers in this battle to play with. Quick pop heal as well. Nice peek up. Beautiful damage done with the AR. Switches to the DBS and wants to go full frontal blank. He's getting in their faces.
What is going on? Already we see another knock come through with the DBS. Misery left alive, and he's taking damage here and there, able to clutch it out. But you do Alliance, they're still in the wings here, Jackie.
Skirting around the outside. Is there anything that can be done? They're low. Now would be the time to strike once the players are down. They're knocked, they're on their last legs. Doesn't have the full list of information that we do though, so his decision making will be affected by this. And this just gives more time to Evos to try and reset things. Red face now back up. He's just going to be watching, looking for the peak over. That's the healing as well. The longer this goes on, the more numbers you're going to have to fight against. So you do Alliance, the chance of this one being close now far harder. Again, falling into a position where this should be a guaranteed chicken dinner for Evos.
Man, that could have been a chicken dinner there for Judo Alliance, and Olio just needed a little bit more confidence to try and go in and bruise the pride there of Procedure Evos. He's got 2 nades in hand. There's no utility on the side of Procedure Evos so far, but that might change once they start to loot some of these crates that surround and litter the battlefield. No meds available for Misery other than those stims available for him. Might go for a quick scout in the vehicle. So far this game, Luxy is absolutely putting some mega work for them. 5 eliminations so far. First initial nade sent out. After that, there is another sent over the top. A little bit of damage found, but not a lot.
There isn't going to be too much we can really set the stage for on this one, unless somehow he was able to flip the script entirely and pull off the 1v3. That's the situation he's left himself in. So likelihood low, but potential reward very, very high here for Alliance. Just crawling his way around through the reeds right now, staying down in the ground. Luxy is jumping around, trying to get info on this, just wants to spot where exactly he is. They're playing on a fragmented system, just looking for the trade. There's the contact, it seems. Bullets being spammed into the smoke, so just a bit of a pre-fire rather than actually locating where he is just yet. Longevity on this one being played out though, Blank. Fair play to him. You've got the time to work with, you want to make it as awkward as possible, see what he can get done here.
Yeah, I mean, the mistake was made way earlier, and this should definitely be a Procedure Evos win, but the thing is as soon as you see the teams go down to 2 and the amount of knocks that came through in the elimination field, Olio should just be sending in, looking for elimination points where he can, just find a little bit of damage to start things off, but that'll be all it is, and Redface finishes him off in a 21-point game there for Procedure Evos, which will make them feel a lot more secure in their standing, right? But yeah, I definitely think that Olio could have got, you know, at least 2 elims off the back of that if he just tried to flush 2 of the players, maybe even a chicken dinner. If he just went sooner, I think it's like I said, as soon as you see those knocks in the elimination feed, as soon as you see it drop down to 2 teams remaining, you just fly in because the result is the same either way.
No, it's very true, right? There is no worse outcome going to result in getting less points. I agree with you, man. As much as it's one thing where he didn't have the full situation, we obviously have a little bit more information. Going into a fight like that where you know they've just had that final fight, no matter what, HP is going to be low. He was basically in a 1v1 with a half HP player, but obviously didn't have the chops on him to go for it. You can see the excitement here though. Evos looking very vocal. Luxy telling the stories from that one as they relay some of the plays they just made. Fair play though, for what it was, Blank. Procedure Evos playing a great game there. You know, had a good setup early. They were confident in the way they wanted to take the compound and played it smart. So you do love to see that.
Yeah, it's awesome to see Luxy like top of the tails in terms of damage and eliminations there. I mean, well-revered player within PUBG Mobile esports, just fell off massively over the past couple of years, but it looks like he has really put in the work and he's returning to form. Honestly, it's amazing to see because it really was that Luxy sort of was overshadowed by the likes of Ryzen as well as Zuxi back on BTR. But look at this, Luxy's really making a stand, so he's constantly pressuring the issue, constantly trying to push for those big heights in the future, which is amazing. I'm really glad to see it. But again, you do Alliance, a little bit of a throw at the end there, a little bit of a throw from Procedure Evos. They could have lost the 2 players there from FaZe, but just like Luxy, let's get back to basics with the desk.
因为这个地方选的是他的
That's
头
right,
脑
Procedure Evos getting themselves the victory here off the back of this. We lost Jason for just a little minute, but we will hold down the fort just as Procedure Evos held down
直接问一下
Gas
胡伟吧，我
Station.
记得当时他是说什么原因只有增量来着，
Whether
直
the
接问
storm
一下
with
胡伟
two
吧。
teams pushing on their location, right, Kalaris? You had, of course,
我一下子也找不到单，我记得我订单还记得来着。
Of course, you are in this location. It's very easy to abuse with that third-person perspective. You can just jump, chuck the nades, get the easiest eliminations in the world onto N-Hyper, but then FaZe trying to go for a third party, and I really thought that was going to be the end of Procedure Evos, but it's down to Misery. He's able to clutch it up, go for the res, and get rid of the final player of Meteor Alliance. That is how you hold down a position like that. You just make sure you can use those walls to its full potential, and that's 21 points here to start off this match.
Absolutely. Oftentimes we see the gas station as having a little bit of vulnerability, right? Because there is that small little gap underneath the walls. However, they did a great job of zoning people away from even having angles on that little gap. And then, as you say, blasting them with the nades as they came close. So 21 points go their way. NASA, for the most part, we thought might have a grasp on gas station, kind of moved a little bit to the east, but eventually just started blasting everything anyway for those south rotates. So it's a really big game for them as well.
I think it was G7 that was in the warehouse, and then the warehouse and the gas station, and they had this massive four-man split, and I thought, okay, they're going to wait for the next circle, and based on where it goes, they're going to regroup normally in what I thought at the time was going to be gas station, but no, they regrouped to the eastern side, then wrap around the southern side of the river to fight Inco, which I was a bit surprised by that, Kalaris. I didn't expect them to do that. They just completely obliterate Inco, then third-party reject that were fighting Duxan, come out on top of that to get then, as you saw, 9 eliminations. It's the craziest way to get to that point, but I mean, the eliminations showed up, so I can't argue too much. They got the points they needed in this match.
No, indeed. Them alongside Xavier as well, with the amount of wins that they were able to garner. Very important for their campaign across what is only 2 days of gameplay. Also, Udo Alliance kind of making what I would say almost a surprise entry when it comes to the upper echelons of this game. Not necessarily because of the circle and how things were playing out, but they were in a very wide split to start things off match for Udo Alliance. And then I think when it gets down to that 4v1, 3v1 scenario at the end, it's very difficult for him to make that call to try and press the hill, right? Considering the elimination feed and how it all works out.
Exactly, you just have a big lack of information. It's like, did the entire team get flushed out? Is there just one three-man team remaining? Is it going to be like a bunch of solos? We're just not quite sure at that point, so let's not take the risk. Let's try and survive to try and just secure second place. So I do get the idea. If he did know that was a misplay, but I just, as you said, I don't think he had the information that it was a full squad. So if he did know, then unfortunately it could have been the good time to strike, but it was still a second place. So a good match, and currently the best match for Udo Alliance.
I was actually just doing my impression of Gladiators that game. Just not being here. I don't know, that's a little mean. But I think this game though was mostly just about the teams who desperately needed to get some points under their belt, getting those points under their belt. You guys were talking about Besija. Obviously this is their last day of play as well, so they really have to rack up as much as possible to build that buffer. UD Alliance, this is the first time they are playing, so they can get some steam going here as they go 1-4 into this one. And Nasser, which, I mean, 9 eliminations, that's a good start. I think for me, for a team like that, it's a confidence booster. It's to show them that, okay, we can compete against these teams. You know, we might have been struggling the first couple of matches, but where can they go from here? And obviously we still have that one air go left to come today. Gladiators, yeah, going out early, but again, they should be relatively safe. Alter Ego, not really much to say about that either, if you had any time with Colors, but
I mean, as you're saying for Nasser, I like their decision-making to just start sweeping and start eliminating. Like, if you think about giving up a gas station location, yes, you could sit on the edge, on the east edge of that circle and just slowly creep up to that. Maybe you'd have to kind of have a bit of a skirmish with the remaining members of Alliance kind of north of you, as they're also wanting to be approaching from that similar angle. Maybe you lose people out on that, but they decided, no, let's take that south side, which is covered a little bit more by, you know, the terrain as a whole, and actually take some really good skirmishes. So I'm impressed from that game.
Well, let's see if they can maintain any sort of momentum they'll go into the next match. Back to our cast, just to check in.
Thanks, Jason. I know, man. It's a treat blank, right? With the way that the games have been going so far today. They just keep delivering. They keep getting some big moments of excitement. So honestly, I'm just kind of living for it, man. This is a good time to be enjoying the survival stage from a safe position, anyway, right? We're in the game, we're watching them. I'm having a field day.
Absolutely, I love that. You know, Jason is so excited that he went slow-mo for that throw. That was amazing, beautiful stuff. We got the hands up. Everyone wants to speak to the teacher. Apparently, Tunica doesn't know what's going on. That's fine. Zerich is slamming down. What a weird scenario that was. Okay. I do think, yeah, it's like 2 boys in the back, like, we're just here, Zerich and Tunica doing everything. It's like, another rotation gone wrong again. But to be fair to the Mad Bulls, I think, honestly, Tunica probably is a little bit stressed because he has done so much work for them. I think he's really doing well for the team, and they should be very, very pleased with his results because I think he's come a long, long way in the year he's been playing with the Mad Bulls. It used to be a case that he was a bit of a loose cannon on the team, always going a little bit too far away from them, but he plays much more as a good teammate now, supporting Zerich and being a great frontliner without getting too aggressive. So I've been very, very excited to see the development coming through from Tunica in particular.
He's looking good, man. He really is. And I think, you know, it's interesting because this entire Mad Bulls roster can definitely deliver at times. We've always kind of set that precedent. It just wasn't super consistent, was I think the problem with it. Whereas now, at the survival stage, it kind of seems like something has clicked and they've realized that we really need to make sure that we're the ones making our own future for ourselves. So we're free chicken dinners already under the belt, which by and large, you know, that's not an easy feat. They've definitely had to put the work in. That's over the space of 2 days as well. And we're only really, you know, a handful of games in today. We still have this last Erangel and the 2 Miramars as well. So anything else Mad Bulls can find on the day, they're going to be happy with. We'll see, though, as we are getting back into it. Third and final Erangel then. So any chance for some last-minute shenanigans, we'll see if they'll be coming out.
Yeah, I mean, for some of these teams might want to go for a hot drop potentially. Is the last map of the day, so it's one where you could pull out some secret sauce moves on the Erangel match, especially with Group Green, this being their final match of Erangel they will be playing, so they could surprise some of these teams. Maybe we'll see what happens if they just keep it basic, though. I think a lot of these teams are kind of really leaning into consistency more than anything at this point in time, realizing that, look, it's not easy to pick up these points, and I think for us, it's just a better idea that we just keep things going the way they want to. But Zerich actually drops over towards Nasa, but I think this is more of a case of this playing path causing this more than anything. But this is going to be difficult, particularly with the fact that a lot of the Mad Bulls are not in close contention. Luckily, they've got 2 shotguns, which are going to be extremely useful in this close range combat that they're going to get themselves into very shortly.
It looks so terrifying watching a man in a raincoat with a blade just crouching around the corner blank. It's very horror movie-esque, but it's not October anymore, it's November, so we're getting closer towards the Christmassy season. I imagine we'll see some gifts being given out inside the compound, most likely being bullets though, with those shotguns. Seems like the phones are going down and there probably has been a technical issue, so we're going to need a rehost on this bad boy. It's a cut short. Not going to be seeing any shenanigans on this one. We'll relive it, get things sorted, and then get people back in for another test on the old Erangel.
I do like that, you know, it sort of felt like Mad Bulls stopped that match. They were like, we're in a horrible situation, guys. Can we just get down? I mean, I think most teams, considering how quickly we got that rematch as well, considering how quickly we got that rematch going through as well, most teams would be pretty pleased with how that one worked out, considering how horrible that play path was, right? Not easy to work through.
No, exactly. Honestly, unless we roll the dice and end up getting a critical fail again, right? It should be better. It should be better than that for most of the squads in terms of easy routes to your common drop spots. So hopefully it won't be all doom and gloom for them, and shouldn't take too long to get things sorted out and straight back in. Nice seeing some of our players on screen as well. There's not been a lot of time with the player cams today, and it does give us a bit more of an insight into how some of the teams are looking. That sort of human element. Well, I say human, not got them Sith Lord over here.
Mackie just in the dark right now. Yeah, very scary.
With any chicken dinner, no matter the length of time in the survival stage. Unlimited points on the last day.
That's what they need. That's what they need at the end of the day. I mean, realistically, we need to start getting some of these points going. And if you need to become the Sith Lord, you need to start shooting out some bolts of lightning from your fingers to get it done. All respect to Meku, realistically.
Hey, I'll give it to him, man. It's a good look, honestly. It's a good look. This is nice, though. I have missed this. You know, even seeing Quest on screen, man. You know, Al Haji, the man is just so emotive as well. Kind of wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit, so it's nice sort of getting a glimpse with the camp of Quest, seeing how they're looking. Obviously, rough day for a rough span of days, really, but still looking like at least the mental fortitude is there. A little bit of frustration, maybe bubbling to a boil, but that could be used to their edge. The FaZe cam now on screens as well, and damn, we got the stats to back it up as well. FaZe not actually having a bad day of it, to be honest, Blank.
Yeah, I think for FaZe it's been pretty decent. I think we got the dance moves from Mela earlier on. Now we're coming back for some more. Whoa! Okay, I thought I was going in a different direction. We got the love heart instead. That's great. Thank you very much. For FaZe, honestly, that last game was really cool. I enjoyed the fact that we saw the almost 2v4 coming through. They looked pretty strong with it. There's definitely some strong players on that team. Melo and Ventoras, really long-standing players within the scene as well. PUBG Mobile, they've done some really good stuff in the past. We've got Enigma Galaxy on screen at the moment. A team that's just kind of struggled, right? And I think that one of their major issues, they don't find enough vehicles, which feels like, you know, it feels like you're failing at the first aspect of PUBG Mobile. And that feels bad to say because I know they're a good team, but that's like rule number one, right? Just get some vehicles on the drop, go from there.
The way to word it in a friendly manner is they've been very cost efficient on fuel today. They've been using the, you know, what's it, the carpool lane.
Yeah. It's not ideal, that's for sure.
It's definitely not.
I mean, we're trying to put olive oil in the tank right now. It's not working. Let's just get
That's not dinosaur juice.
Yeah, let's get some more vehicles. Let's get some more dinosaur juice from the ground. Let's pump it up and just get on moving. 4 vehicles better than 1 vehicle. I don't feel like I need to say that on PMGC, but there you go. But 20 seconds before we get back into our 4th match of the day. Bit odd because again with that plane path. No. Calm down.
I do love the idea that they've not communicated this to Two Liquor at all. He's just sat there like, why do they keep putting their hands
going on? They're all becoming mannequins at this point in time. We don't exist. These are just stand-in dolls for
Right then. Well, let's get our seatbelts snapped in as it's time to go back to Erangel. Last game of the day today for this map. Following this, we get the back-to-back Miramar. So a bit of a change of pace there, a bit of a change of scenery that will be just around the corner. Who's getting that last chicken dinner on Erangel, though? And how's this game going to go? Let's find out. Playing path, a little bit nicer.
Yeah, way nicer actually on this one, because I think whenever you get that playing path that moves down slope, right on the edge of the map, you're given so many limited options, especially forcing a lot of teams to drop over towards South Military Base as well. And if you do do want to get towards one of your original drop spots, you sort of have to drop towards that middle third of the playing path, which means that more than likely you're going to run into at least another 10 other teams trying to do the same thing alongside with you. So picking up some of those trash drops, trying to pick up those vehicles, going to get very hairy indeed. So with this playing path, you're going to have a lot more room to drop out when you want to, and kind of spread yourself across the map. Even though it is far off towards the western side, a lot of teams will be much more pleased on their approach. Nacer dropping over towards Rozok right now, alongside with the Mad Bulls. I don't think they'll be dropping right on top of them potentially, but we'll wait and see. We get another circle, very similar to our last one on our angle, up towards that northern side of the map.
Okay then. A little bit of water on that
我问一下
board
这个任务
for now.
详情
But won't matter too
页改
much.
的话
Early
只改详
doors.
情页那一部
Looking
分
at
吧
some of
然
the
后
spots though,
像
just seeing if there's going to
任务
be
数据
any
详情那些也有一些
shenanigans
地方
here
展示
for
这个任务
our
类
last
型的
area. We've
要
seen
改
a
嘛
couple of hot drops sprinkled in for good measure today, but nothing overly audacious here. The only close proximity we really see is on screens now, with Mad Bulls a couple of miles away, especially with the move that's coming in, different trajectories for the rotations. Oh, you can't
那
be
包
doing
括
that.
审核
If you look
然
directly
后
at the
查看什么
sunblank,
任
it's
务配
quite
置
bad for
信息
your
那些
eyes.
咯
He's got a blue light filter on the red dot, don't worry.
Oh, he's okay.
He's all
yeah.
good.
I was worried there for a second. His retinas would be taking damage, mate.
Oh, absolutely. We won't be able to see the rest of the game. Just have like the smallest pinpoint of vision towards the center.
Really realistic PUBG Mobile. I've looked at the sun.
And I can no longer see. It's not good. Can we get a rematch, please? Rehost.
I've been flashbanged by the big orb.
What is big orb in the sky? I do not understand.
Where has this come from?
Who is he? Yeah, it doesn't.
Be like the
oh my god,
bear in the
stop it.
big blue house, mate.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll have to
Say
explain
hello
what
to
the
the
sun is. Well, everybody. No, I'm only joking. But we are going to head over towards the northern side for the time being. NBE Sports, I don't think they've done too badly at all. Akaze's kind of been like the main driving force of the team, though, right? Hit some really, really good shots recently, but again, some of their rotates feel just a little bit lacking, you know, getting caught on the edge side quite a few times, which doesn't feel great for them as a team, because I do think that when this team is put under pressure, some of their rotations to try and extricate themselves from those positions become a little bit haphazard. I think they've been fortunate on some of these other games where, for instance, they had an opportunity on that last match to escape and they zoomed in over towards Inco and immediately got put down by them. But that could have been a much better fight if it wasn't the fact that Becker just withstood the force of a vehicle going 60 miles per hour. Doesn't make much sense to me. FaZe, though, immediately take a knock. Zifan will move up. Mormon has only got the shotgun, but a great drop shot there will take down Shifan. A little bit of that greed being punished away there in the box compound.
So Mormon with the AK, slays from far away, throws the clip back in, as they will hit the DECK. Gets the res back off as well. Meanwhile, Car Chase City is the name of the game here, it seems. Ooh, contact from the side, though, baited in as they pulled into Quest's domain. And right now, they are ready to rumble. They assault onto the close range players. Ooh, good damage done onto the getaway vehicle as well, as Al Haji is throwing out the bullets. And they're chasing the Quest convoy hard on the tail blank, looking to see if they can actually fight this one back and chase him down.
I mean, they desperately need the points, right? And I mean, FSS is moving straight up towards the top side of Everest, trying to escape as quick as he can. Get his level 3 and hiking done here. Fahidan sends towards that top side, just tries to spot for him, but I don't think FFS is going to be in this situation for too long at all. Al Haji will just be medkitting away, gets himself back up to full HP here. But FaZe, I think they did a pretty decent job to sort of resume operations after taking that initial knock there from Jifan. And it will be N Hyper who really does suffer the consequences of getting too aggressive in this location, dropping down to just 2 players now.
DX on screens here, getting the looting done. DX been a little bit less uncontested in terms of fighting for common drop spots. They've been willing to actually mold themselves into less common drops or work around some of our other teams. That's something that we are now seeing from them, which was quite uncharacteristic of what they were doing game in, game out, at least back during the regulation part of the group stage with the full group green. So shows at least some smart adjustments for them there. FS did at least get away. He's been able to run down and avoid Quest's onslaught.
Yeah.
But what have you really got left, man? The entire team off the back of that was basically split in half, right? Like, sure, they're still alive, but you're down to just 2 with low HP and not really much to work with in terms of the early loot either. You haven't had a chance to kind of pick anything clean. So rough start for them, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't even think FS even knows where he's going at this point in time. Sends up towards Zaki, of all places. Enigma Galaxy make their way in towards Rozhok. I think this is a bit of a lion's den that you don't really want to get into too early on. Easy gets taken down by FaZe, who pick themselves up yet another point on the match here. Quest tries to come in for a little bit of retribution. Al Haji spots out, but Onzen's very ready for the same peak again. Doesn't try to go for anything fancy here, and Quest realizes it's probably just a good idea to bail out this one. Gladiators up towards the northern edge of Georgia Pod, still looting. They've got a lot of time ahead of them to make this one happen. A lot of teams did shift themselves over towards the eastern side of the map, so a lot of this western edge is quite free, and with a lot of the infighting that has happened between FaZe and Hyper as well as Quest, a lot of these teams haven't made their initial rotates yet. Zerich spots onto Ralph from Enigma Galaxy. You got Freak on the side here, but Zerich is very quick with it, in and out of cover like a shot here.
Trying to hard commit and does pick it up, landing the follow-up shot. Ooh, quick pre-fire as well. So Zerich was paranoid about the peak there, coming around the corner a little bit quicker than he had anticipated for. Does go fast on the chase, but already with the engine purring, they're just trying to get away and avoid just losing most of their stock here in the Mad Bulls territory. So give up the fight on that one. We get a cameo from Reject Tokyo as well. It seems to have done a good job of finding themselves 4 vehicles to work with. So rotates now going to be a bit of an easier piece of the puzzle for them. And they're also heading over towards Rozhok. So you do have a potential here where you're going to have quite a few close grouped squads actually, especially with Nassar pushing further down. They might actually get a bit of a read on this one. So room to breathe. Big split for them as well, actually. Basically running a buddy system of 2 players apiece. On the bridge cam to the left, you can see Rosemary as well, starting to inflict some damage towards FaZe. That's another hot spot. In terms of the heat map there, Gladiators towards the top, just above Quest. Quest that seem to be edging closer towards FaZe after hearing the dinner bell being rung.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of teams that had a lot of these engagements happening earlier, right, Jackie? And they decided that, you know, they're not going to move across the bridges. They're going to get stuck in over towards this ridge side on the western edge. And I think that has made for a very interesting western side of the circle, with a lot of these teams opting just not to push forward. Quest, I think that was a rundown over towards Alter Ego that was found there after they took a couple of pot shots. Lufa looks over towards Tulica, will find the initial shot on the DBS, backing off just slightly, now looking for Zerich, who is holding his own as best as he can here.
Oh, felt like that one was a little bit sloppy to get the final pick up there in the end, but they're still fighting for it, still looking to close things out. Frozen fragmented from the rest of the squad, peeks out through the smoke. Ooh, look at the nade lineup on that as well. A couple seconds slower on the getaway, and he could have been eating that nade. Would have absolutely ruined him. Luckily, Mad Bulls will still hold on with just 1 man. Frozen, the ice-cold assassin that had to let it go on that one, as he'll back off and tuck into a better angle. Meanwhile, Lord puts some bullets down range as well, just keeping the pressure on. So Rejects in the thick of it now, with players surrounding them from most angles here. Coops does fall back after at least playing his initial card, going to the compound to play off his team.
Yeah, it's actually a really strong spot that Reject's able to pick themselves up there. I mean, it's not an easy one to immediately take control of. Alva looks over towards Quest, will find 2 of them, immediately sprays both of them down. It will just be the 1 player left remaining now for Quest in Fahidan. Our Alter Ego desperately needed those points as well, up to 4 now total. And I think for them, currently in 9th place, 36 points. That takes them to 40. So they're not in the worst spot in the world, but it's not great either. Let's put it that way. I think for Nigma Galaxy, on the other hand, still need to get some more points on today, realistically. And Hyper currently at 10 points total, 0 points on the game. There's a couple of these teams from Group Red that really do need to get a move on at this point in time. But this is one of the more infighty lobbies we've seen throughout the entirety of the survival stage. Yesterday was just quite dominant. A lot of smart maneuvers going around. This is very scrappy, I would say, in terms of the fighting that's been going on.
Yeah, that does sum it up pretty accurately. It's been a very, very scrappy affair. Close quarters combat being the aggressive maneuver here from Alter Ego. Kicking the doors, running on in, and finding the pickups with both barrels there. Stereo connection onto Quest. So they're taken down. Gladiators are close by, close enough that maybe their ears are perking up and thinking about the potential, but they might have their heads a bit more screwed on, thinking about the longevity of the game here, rather than trying to get involved with potential dribs and drabs of Elim points. Reject Tokyo still looking like they've got confidence as well. They've got a good setup in terms of the position, but they haven't really cascaded back. They've still been controlling the outer ridge here towards the hillside after not wanting to give it up when Mad Balls pushed in and applied a bit of pressure onto them, trying to keep control of the land they've found. Lord seems to have taken a bullet to the back of the head there, though, so down on his last legs for the meantime. Quick head count of our squads. You can see that a fair few of them have already lost players, so the battle of attrition has been going on in the background. The only actual squad wipe we've seen, though, was Quest.
Yeah, it's been a sort of a difficult game for a lot of teams where they've just been taking a couple of fights here and there, trying to escape from it. And you can tell that's kind of the survival stage mentality of a lot of these teams, that you start to lose an engagement. Right, that's it. We'll just leave it alone. Let's get out of here as quickly as possible. And Hyper's initial fight went horribly, horribly wrong, really pear-shaped in that sense. But for Reject, they picked themselves out a very strong spot. And you're right, they're holding on the outside edge. They've realized that the 3-story gives them a lot of strength in terms of being able to spot out teams and take some shots across the way, try to weaken some of these squads, potentially even get a flush. But leaving this position also is a little bit rough for yourself, because you are surrounded by some compounds that can quite easily cut off your disengages. So for Regiosio, probably one of the smarter players, I would say, to leave on the outside edge. Really, really strong individual player in of his own right. Can get away with maybe a quick knock and then a retreat back to the rest of the team. So I like this play from Reject so far. It's looking strong. FaZe, though, do find one of the players in Kitsune there. I think that's a bit of a misstep coming through from the Gladiators. They should have known there might be more teams coming through on this area, and just allowing Mela to immediately pick himself up a quick and cheeky flush on towards them. Their gatekeep gets shut down almost immediately.
Guarding the edge here, though. Meku with the full wide berth on the rotate, trying to get as far back as he can. There is still a play to be made, though, inside of the blue. If you could assist Mela, you could still put pressure on Meku and force him to give up the aggression on this one. He was just looking for a read, and the information play does still stay alive with his hands firmly on the wheel, so he's happy to at least be breathing on this one. Alter Ego are relatively close as well, with even a slight push there, just looking for a read themselves, so assessing what exactly was going on ahead of them. Meanwhile, Melise looking to try and make their move over the bridge at some point here, with the zone pushing further in and actually setting itself up in a relatively good spot for Evos once again as well. Melise, though, will have to fight tooth and nail for this, and they go for the brutish approach, sending the vehicle in with Kishu just driving his way through straight away. We'll put a pin in that, though, as there's a fight going on, and FaZe are fragging blank. They found their way through all of the Gladiators in seconds there.
Mate, again, this is Mela just absolutely killing it today. And I mean, we saw that on that last game, almost the 2v4 versus Pasija Evos. And Mela once again shows us he can do it just as easily in the mid game as he can in the late game. So a really, really heads up play there coming through from Mela. I don't know how that just occurred, but with the DBS, that guy is absolutely kingly, and I think that's going to bring Gladiators back down to earth once again. Maybe one or two more good games for them to see them feeling a little bit safer safer into the lobby at the end of the day. 59 points. It's pretty decent. And with the amount of teams that are currently sat down towards 18, 17 points total, there's a chance for this team. There's still a chance, but that does not look promising. For FaZe, on the other hand, they've had some pretty cool standouts today. Not always been able to get all their players towards that end game, but, you know, at least some eliminations every single time. They're already up to 30 points on their first day. It's good to see.
It is nice for them. Big game. Even if they go out now, you've still been able to achieve a lot in terms of the elims and the other chicken dinners they've taken. More to be done for FaZe as well, of course. As you know, this isn't the end of their run. They'll still have tomorrow to come back out swinging up against Group Yellow and see what they can do there. Fight continues on now, though, with Frozen being really close in terms of the positioning. You were thinking maybe there was chance for a fight there. We'll join that again, though, once things kick off. For now, you've got the rotate on screens, and Melise still trying to make their move. Trapped under the bridge here, as CEO later wants them to pay the toll. He is trying to defend this, it seems. DBS in hands, close quarters engagement up against the SMG, just peppered instantly, overwhelmed there, and crumbles because of it. So the remaining members of Melise are expired, and Inco could potentially throw a party from that. Had a read on the hill, but don't aggress down.
Yeah, for Inco, it's a little bit of a difficult scenario for them, but they're able to hold on to it. Not bad at all. DXAV continue on. I think this has been one of the more consistent teams from our lobby so far. Inco moving over towards NASA, over towards Spec at the moment. A little bit of a difficult position to be playing in. Doesn't really have the support of his teammates, but a nice first initial spray down. Everyone's just trying to get the DBSs on the roof, but he doesn't care. The Vector will do the trick.
Oh, he cuts his way through the first. Looking to re-aggress here as well. Bullets going down, detonations inside of the building. Xenox looking for the wide swing, close up through the window, spots another Inco man, but he's been punished from the side himself. Down on the floor now. Spec as well, eats the nade. Perfect bounce on that. Beautiful use of the angle as it ricochets off of the wall and takes the man down. Both of them playing medic, looking to get the reses in and reset on the fight. Doors wide open, head taken clean off as Squash, he goes out of the situation. Star comes sprinting in, and this fight keeps on going.
Mate, there's no point did it occur to Spec to just use the first aid kit in his inventory at all. Like, what was he doing jumping down with 10 HP? Didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And with that, Nenabete might be able to finish up a lot of these players coming through from NASA. A total misplay, in my opinion, from what was an incredible opening fight there from Spec himself. Nenabete is able to clutch this out. It's basically all down to the fact that you just don't use the utility that's on side. There was more than enough time and chance to use it. Just the aggression there was a little bit silly, in my opinion. Reject still pushing onwards, currently up to 34 points, 37 if you add the eliminations on. And I think, you know what, they've had a decent day today. They've been really trying to hit those numbers where they can. They understand that time is wearing thin for them too.
And the gap between DX is closing as well. Similar sort of story for Rejects, it seems, as they go for the swoop in and look to command respect here in the compound clash. Sarah, the bicep man, hits the first as Link goes down. Lufa again aggresses onto Misery, and one by one, Evos are becoming extinct as they are falling out of the server quite quickly. Luxy, though, wants to try and save face. Nades thrown in. Nice tag on at the first. Has the DBS as well. He could clean out the building here, Blank, if he can find his way in. Nice nade to at least defend. Smoke canisters go up as well. Blocks the pathing and the eye line, but could be exposed to Coops and Co from the back. So Rejects have taken command of the gas station for now.
That was definitely a deluxe grenade if I've ever seen one. Nade over the top from Regiosio. bounces. Actually just airburst a bit too early there for him. Looks to send another one over the top. Has a general idea of where he is. Great nade from Regiosio. Will finish it off, and Pazija Evos goes down. Now remember, this is the position where Pazija Evos won the game from last match. And I think for Reject, they understand that. They're like, look, we'll take it off your hands, no problem. Quick push in, picks up a lot of eliminations off the back of some really nice shots with the DBS. And that's confidence we wanted to see from Reject a lot earlier on. For Udo Alliance, it's starting to get a bit better for them each and every single game. You know, their averages aren't looking too bad at all. Currently 5 points per game. Yes, it's not championship level of averages, but for some other teams who really have not done that at all, I would say this is a promising start for Udo Alliance.
They've not been looking too bad in some of the fights they've been able to find themselves in today. We've seen some smart decision making, even at least keeping games going when they're low in terms of stock, low in terms of manpower. So Udo Alliance, pretty good job of at least being a thorn in the side of some other teams. What can they get done here, though? In potentially a position where, you know, there is a chance you could chalk this one up as a W, as a chicken dinner, if you play your cards correctly. Frozen, still just trying to keep his attention drawn in the direction of Reject Tokyo. Rejects that are now getting themselves situated inside of the vehicles, driving seats at the ready, and start to set their focus on the new zone. Everyone's going to want to move their way further forward now. Udo Alliance with a good spread of it as well. They'll have nice control to work off of. Meanwhile, MBE, Sec on the snipe with a Mini 14, firing off the warning shots, makes his presence known, but no actual connection. And he has given an inkling across the Udo as well of his position now.
Yeah, Cluck here off in the distance. Your Udo Alliance currently at those 5 eliminations found so far in this map. Could you go even a little bit further? Talking about before, Sec on that Mini 14, hitting some nice shots. Nedabete, in the meantime, takes his chances on the rotate while everyone is a little bit distracted. Will be able to get himself to fairly defensible position as well over on this side. MBE Sports off in the distance, very, very close to him. Udo Alliance is trying to take him down, but it is Olio to spot that one out. Once again, we see Udo Alliance in this situation where they potentially can take the chicken dinner on this game. They came second on that last match. So far, some very nice little averages on our angle. Reject will send in over towards Coops, last player remaining. Good initial grenade, but just overwhelming force here from Reject.
They just swoop in like an aggressive seagull at the boardwalk, just wanting to steal away their set of chips. And they take that one down instantly. Udo Alliance, they've got a good spread for it, good setup in terms of the positioning to maybe get a few shots off here onto Reject Tokyo. And they're the ones that want a gun for the longevity on this. Both squads with 4 players alive. For Mad Balls, it is just Frozen. And keep in mind, Frozen's team, they were picked off by Rejects quite some time ago. He was hoping to get revenge, but he'll find nothing for his troubles as you do connect onto him. And they dispatch the ball, seeing red now as we fall to our final 3 squads. Hey, look at the damage being inflicted here as well, Blank. Softening them up now. Confidence is there. This could be where they start to rev their engines for the dive.
Yeah, looking to move in towards it. And I like this spread coming through from Udo Alliance. So aggressive. The distance, though, Sara is able to pick up one from MBE Sports. They have to immediately get on that res there if they want to get something done off the back of it. They might just send in over towards MBE Sports as well, claim a little bit more space. Cluck also getting involved, realizing that MBE Sports looks a little bit weakened off the back of that one. Olio with this position on top of the rooftops is so unbelievably strong, though. Jackie gives them so much advantage coming into the future. Reject were able to get a little bit further around, but more and more shots keep pouring over their way. MBE Sports with Mondo up front with 1 nade left remaining, but fully kitted out here with the MG3.
Quick looting, quick reset, shuffling. Everyone waiting for the right strike, the right moment to stick themselves into the action. The aggression works well for the first connection. Bullets downrange onto MBE, at least coiling their numbers for now, forcing one of the players into a knock. and leaving them with a decision to make. No real quick move to get Modo back up, so you're probably going to have to give up the goose on him, fragmenting their numbers even more. And this setup from Yudu is still looking so powerful. Every time there's a peak, they have the geometry to defend themselves whilst dealing damage. They've got set up, so if there is contact, someone else can help out as well. They could play for trades pretty efficiently from this, and all they've got to do is hold. Everyone else sitting on the edge of the rim as well, not wanting to push in yet. The zone will be the only part that could potentially throw a spanner in the works for them. But with how they're playing it at the minute blank, this is looking great for Alliance.
Yeah, pretty much this was one of the circles that Reject likely was hoping for as well, because Olio on this spot had to be pushed out of it before stage 8. Realistically, this is a very early way to end a game in stage 7, having 3 teams at stage 6, almost unheard of. This game was extremely quick in terms of play. For Reject though, they know they need to get further into the circle. They need to regroup Regiosio as well as Sara, but this circle does assist them. Getting Olio off from that rooftop gives them a much more even chance here, much more even footing. The fact that he's able to take pot shots downwards provides so much information all the time towards the rest of his teammates is causing so much problems. He's finally off it now, and Reject might be starting to think about when they want to move off towards the rest of their squad.
Lufa hearing the sniper shots whizzing by him. Ooh, it looked like his days were numbered, but the team defends as they assist their mate. A few pot shots back over. That's Reginosio, who's just taking the peek from behind the tree, hoping that he can, if not deal damage, at least start to dent the confidence. So Yudu Alliance can't peek into this so easily. They've still got such a good setup though, and this could be absolutely fantastic. They thought they had the lineup with a nade. No real response to it though. Not actually turning onto this one. They just leave themselves laying there in the open. Can't really retaliate too easily, and they're just being farmed blank. The nades go in again for the easy cleanup, and they're taken out of commission. Wiped off the face of the battleground there, leaving it into the final fight then.
Yeah, 3v4 now. And I think for Yudu Alliance, honestly, when you're in that situation and you are MB Esports, you just have to hope that he only has 2 grenades and you can withstand 2. Unfortunately for them, Olio had been sent forward with a blinding 7 in the back pocket. The circle moves over towards the north side, and Reject's going to have to play a very, very tough game. They've got no more smokes remaining either, so getting up will require them to get at least a knock. Lufa's not able to make it happen. Now just 2 players left alive versus Yudu's 4, and they're going to send in on the approach. Is this going to be their downfall, or will this be where they win? Olio continues to send in some massive nades. He's been so important this entire game. The nade goes off, Reject will go out, and Yudu Alliance, despite only getting the second that last game, Olio not going in for the 1v1 definitely makes up for things here on this Arangle.
You do take those wins, blank, as they're pulling off another one. Coming out swinging here. You're going to be happy with that. You're going to be in a position now where things are looking a lot better already. They were a team that today looked like they were kind of nipping at heels and at least keeping themselves in a good position. Now it actually seems comparable to think, you know, if they could maintain this blank for their day 2 tomorrow as well, alongside potentially the next 2 games we have coming up, then Alliance are actually in a much better position than it felt like potentially they were going to be coming into this. So looking good in the survival stage right now, taking to it quite comfortably.
Yeah, it's a really nice jump up from them as well off the back of that game. I mean, Olio, again, 1,088 damage done, only 84 damage received. I think their setup on that was very nice as well. Or towards that northern side, they had, I think it was Iftar or maybe Flax, who was up close, just holding out MB Esports that entire time. I think they had really good control over both Reject and MB Esports, not allowing either of those teams any breathing room whatsoever. And that came with an aggressive hold, right? You know, they had to have the big split going there in the end game. But yeah, really impressive from Yudu Alliance. And I think Olio will be certainly pleased, because sort of gave himself up a chicken dinner last game, even though he didn't know it. This time around, definitely secures for that chicken dinner. In the meantime, secure your seatbelts, because we're heading back over to the desk.
All right, seatbelts are secured here. I don't know what sound that was, but we are back with Yudu Alliance. Get themselves a big victory, honestly, and a pretty needed victory. We have to keep in mind that during this entire day, this is technically the easiest group for Group Red to go up against, considering the points discrepancy we heard from Max at the start of the day between yellow and green. So they need to collect every single point they possibly can, and Olio this time kind of redeeming himself, as we heard the caster say from our prior match, Max.
Yeah, really happy with UD Alliance getting himself that split. Of course, the circle not ending towards that kind of gas station location, so forcing teams like Reject to leave it. And when you have that 4-man split, pretty much, Jason, there's not much you can really do, and you're just very predictable behind that pylon. You just, the moment you try and peek your head around the corner, you're going to get completely wrecked. So 24 points on this one for UD Alliance. Great match, and also play with over 1,000 damage, Kalaris. That's really cool.
Yeah, wow. There you go. That's the sound for that one.
Thank you.
Even though we've not really properly seen it. Yeah, they were laughing together after that victory because they were like, we've seen this circle before. And we got to adapt from the previous game whilst doing it. I mean, they were holding strong up in the north, right? Like, they controlled so much room with this to be able to then head south that I think they actually really did, no joke, take learnings from the previous game and apply them here.
I mean, they dropped Northern Stolber, right? No one is going to be on this game, in this lobby, stopping that kind of rotation. No one is in between their drop location and the spot where their game ends, so it's not going to be happening in 1,000 years. And yeah, Leo, sure, he was able to confirm that game earlier on match number 3, but here he's able to just survive with his team and get things done. So happy about that one, though. If I want to take the conversation another way, Kalaris, is Reject knew how strong this time around the Procedure Evo's gas station actually was. Like, how about we crash it just like 5 minutes earlier in this match and maybe win the game? Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, and they hit it with severity as well, right? Like, they absolutely barreled into that position and really gave Procedure no time to be able to react to said attack here. So for Reject, I love the decisive nature of that. I love just the very, very small window you're giving your opponents to be able to react to an assault oncoming here from the Japanese team.
Real quick, as we see in 21st place Quest, they have only 2 matches left to go before they're done in the entire survival stage.
Bye-bye.
If they want to have any sort of chance, they have to come up big in these last 2 games. Otherwise, that's going to be one of our teams confirmed going to be out. But Enigma Galaxy, Max, 24th place. They have not been able to get anything going so far.
I think that Jackie and Blank were talking about it also during the games, and I did come up to that like kind of conclusion myself also, is that they're just struggling to get cars, and because of that, you're very vulnerable to teams that are going to be on your path to the circle, and that's just been happening so many times for Enigma Galaxy, losing Coops, losing Lord, losing Freak, and then you just don't have the players to really compete for that possible win. So yeah, they got to get more cars. Really, it's as easy as that right now. I know I'm making it seem very easy, but if they get 2, 3 cars, 4 cars if possible, you're instantly taking way smaller risks while you're trying to get to a good POI in these circles.
I do want to give a special shout out to 2 different players that we haven't really touched on just yet. Spec from Nasser, coming in massive on top of that building when we saw Inko crash on top of him. Somehow with the Vector, he was able to just hold on. But then Nenebechi on the other side, able to close things out and save his team. Well, save himself at least, and get the wipe onto Nasser. That was just a really cool little battle between those 2 individual players.
Yeah, some good knocks from Nenebechi to kind of finish things off. And again, cooking grenades to be able to just throw them at the exact right time to really cause a lot of problems for his opponents here as he's trying.
Nenebechi was doing something that was very interesting, is he was faking nades also during this entire match. He was just like taking the pin out and actually just doing the audio cue, and that was kind of scaring the opposite side to go for the res, and because of that he was able to just make them linger as a solo and then win the fight. So it's very small details like that, but Nenebechi as an individual, we also saw it last year in PMGC, right, has the chops to be one of the best players in this lobby, I'd say.
Yeah, and it's great to see him as well come back into his own when we first saw him come into the scene back in B4 over like 2-3 years ago when I was actually working on it a little bit more consistently. But guys, we are going to be heading to a short break shortly, but before then, going to remind you guys once again about the Infinix GT10 Pro. You guys can pick this up. It's born for professional esports players, and you guys can dominate the lobby while doing so. Not to mention, you can play in the new Frost Festival now out in PUBG Mobile. You guys can get into this frosty adventure, pick it up and play, and potentially create some snowmen yourself. We also do have the popular annual gala kicking off between the November 15th over till December 15th, where you guys can play in 10 1v1 matches, potentially get some exclusive rewards that you can show off for yourself. And while you're showing those off, you can show off your new Pagani as well with the Zonda R model coming to this and the Amola. You guys can run over your enemies, and hopefully for Enigma Galaxy's sake, they can pick some of these up and survive and stay alive and get into the later stages where they can potentially use their victory dance and show off that they are their own favorite team in PMGC. We're going to head to a short break while we get things ready to go for our first of 2 matches on Miramar, and we'll see you all in just a short few.
And we are moving into Miramar. Two of them back to back, to be precise, to finish off the second day of the survival stage. And Blank, it has been a bit of a journey we've already been on, mate. The Eren girls, the initial Sandhawk as well, all of them have had a bit of a different flavour. I wonder what's going to be sort of, you know, the taste left in our mouths after these Miramar games.
Yeah, well, I mean, man, I don't know. It might be a sour taste, might be a bitter taste for some of these teams, might be a very sweet and delicious taste for some of these teams towards that top side, feeling very comfortable, feeling very safe. For you, do Alliance, that is a really comfortable game on that last one. I think that Max and Clive mentioned it. Look, it was just the same circle from before, and they have a very easy and very nice little crossing down towards that position. And they essentially just played it how they would have wanted to play it that last time around. So really, really well done to both of them. And I think for, honestly, Reject, they'll be happy with a third place on that one, a second place on that one, get some good points on the board overall, which they desperately needed, right? And I think that consistently today, Reject's been doing pretty well. And I think tomorrow we'll see some of those teams from Group Red try and hit some higher numbers as well on that chase. Again, today we will be setting that benchmark, at least for some of those teams with Group Green leaving us. And I think that's the most important thing for a lot of these squads to be taking a look at the end of the day, is where that 16th place lies. Currently, it is with Maliz Esports at 25 points.
Okay, then. What are things going to be looking like in terms of the points after this first Miramar? What drastic changes are we going to be seeing? All big questions that will have a large influence on the overall standings, but we'll find out as we kick it off. The plane has taken off and we're flying over Miramar. If you take a look out of your left window, you'll see water treatment. If you take a look out of your right window, you'll see power grid. Please keep your arms and legs inside of the plane at all time. Now I'll pass you over to your captain, Blank.
It is me, and also disregard that last comment about keeping your legs and arms in the plane at all times. At some point, we are going to be tossing you out because you're going to have to get into this match, gain yourself a couple of these points at the moment, because this is not a safe run from us. It's going to be quick, dirty, and it's going to be fierce going into this Miramar. This is our first of two before Group Green will end their run here in the survival stage and see just how many points that they have been able to put up and get in. Currently, Quest is one of the teams very much in danger at this point in time. Currently played 10 matches with a measly 17 points, currently in 21st place. It is going to take a gargantuan effort from them in these last two matches, and quite honestly, I just don't think it's possible, and this might be one of our first teams to be confirmed gone over in that bottom 8 of the lobby for the survival stage. They will not be making it through to last chance unless something absolutely insane can happen here on these last two Miramars, which I just don't think is going to happen.
No, it would have to be miraculous. Not quite sure if it'll be going that way. We did have Maxman coming in with the hot drop breakdown as well. He gave us a quick lay of the land of the potential positions and clashes that we could be seeing. DX versus MBEs was one of them in El Pozo, and then the other potential that doesn't seem like it's happened was FaZe versus Evos as well. Max had been taking a look over the VODs. So he had basically came to the description, Blank, that we might be seeing those as the common drop spots. At least this time, it seems like some of the teams have got their heads screwed on and haven't wanted to run the risk of a hot drop this late into the day of competition, especially with some of them actually having a good day of it as well, like for Evos, right? Running the risk of that, not going to be ideal. Not the best playing path for it either as well. So that's why we've avoided that one. But honestly, probably for the best, mate. These hot drops are getting a little bit too warm, Blank. It's like being in a sauna but you don't really want to be in there. You thought it was an ice room.
Yeah, it's currently 1 a.m. The janitor locked the door. You're stuck in there. They've turned off the lights. It's a horrible experience overall. You're sweating. You're not sure what's going to happen. You're just going to have to wait it out and move out of the old sauna in the morning looking a little bit mummified. But in the meantime, we'll keep you guys nice and cozy at least. And we'll be there with the keys in the morning around about 7 a.m. because I don't wake up too early. But looking at this plane, obviously it wasn't too great for either of those hot drops on this side of things. Difficult to get down towards Chumacera anyway, so a lot of teams had to go for something just a little bit different. On the cards here, we do have MBE Sports up towards El Pozo. In the meantime, Gladiators playing towards their preferred drop spot in La Cobreria. They have been trying to switch things up just a little bit recently, moving further down towards this south side outside Hacienda del Patron. Certainly have done their homework though. Not really a possibility here versus Nassau, who are over towards water treatment in the first place. So that would cause them to be running into another team fairly early on. I think for Gladiators, who haven't put up any points since that second game, sorry. Currently on 59. I think they'd want to push this just a little bit higher in these final two matches. I think 80 points is a pretty happy finishing point for any team within this lobby. Currently with Mad Bulls at 89 points total. Also, not the most amazing day for them, but they have put up some good points, right? I think yesterday just sort of overshadows the consistency that we're seeing today from them.
It's been an interesting day for it as well, man, because I think it's made it so hard to really, truly assess the situation. I don't even know by the end of today, Blank, if we'll have the best lay of the land of how things are going to look by the end of survival stage, because any sort of the theory we came into it with initially with, you know, kind of the idea of Group Green being the real big group of death that it was, that had so many top teams in it, translating into survival stage, felt like it kind of wasn't an accurate depiction of day one. Then now we're seeing some of them bubbling up towards the top. We're seeing a good test of some of the other teams now in the lobby for today as well. I think really by the end of tomorrow, you know, as silly as it is to say, is when we're actually going to truly understand just how tight this was, because it's been hard to call the whole way through. We've seen the standings definitely getting shaken the longer it has gone on. It's been a lot of impressive maneuvers from Brazil as a region as well throughout the course of the entirety of the tournament. Here at the minute, Inco, being the sole representative of Brazil inside of this lobby, haven't had the best day of it. Of course, they had to fight tooth and nail. Similar story to Quest, to barely make it here in the first place. I think the more surprising one as well is, you know, as we go deeper down towards the bottom, I'm kind of expecting a bit more from maybe your Duxans, maybe you know, Mega Galaxies as well, that, you know, just feel like there could have been a little bit more to be done. We've got one of them fighting here though, as they are going aggro, broken wall combat as they look to try and swoop on in. Bullets from behind the camper van, can't quite close the gap. Switch to the secondary, that one will kneecap, fights through the body as well, backed up by his teammates, and the pressure is on now.
Yeah, FS taking a huge amount of damage there on Hyper, and Duxan, like he said, yeah, really aren't giving up anything whatsoever. They're looking for more. FS will go down, and again, Zifan just has to send away as fast as possible. Hyper's really not been having a good tournament here at all in the survival stage, really struggling on every single drop at the start of the game. First couple of minutes just have been hellish for them. Zifan almost spinning out there on the vehicle as Vinny continues to pepper those shots across, gets a nice headshot, and Hoxie will finish off with one of his own. That's Hyper out with some beautiful gun skill coming through from Hoxie at the end there, and Duxan picks themselves up a juicy 4 points. Again, you were right, Duxan needs to do a little bit more at the bottom of the tables. That's a great start from them here on Miramar, and see them a little bit safer coming into the survival stage. Alter Ego, look, we didn't want to talk about the start today, but you know what? 41 points. It's not too bad, honestly. It's not too bad. They have certainly struggled, but they're struggling against the tide here, trying to get back to the safety of the beaches so they can sit up in those armchairs and just wait for this one comfortably to end without worrying about maybe being pushed out from that top 16. Obviously, only 2 more games to go, though, for Alter Ego. These are some really important matches for them as well, because by no means is 41 points safe at all.
Feels like nothing's a safe threshold anymore, man. It doesn't matter how much of a buffer you've got, Blank. I'd still be a bit scared. You never want to leave it up to someone else, right? So just trying to keep that consistent growth of points, always going. Such a hard task, but something that needs to be done relatively consistently, game in, game out right now. You can see already with the posturing, a lot of these teams earlier on today, even yesterday, especially when there kind of wasn't a level playing field, there wasn't a point where you could see one team pulling ahead. They probably would have gone for a few more of these fights. At the minute, it's a bit more sheepish. Teams sort of fighting to warn off other squads. A lot of defensive gameplay at the minute, kind of turtling, trying to gain control of your lay of the land and force other teams to feel uncomfortable, rather than swooping in, kind of playing that very aggressive, you know, guerrilla strong together mentality of just trying to overwhelm opposition by roaming as a pack, which was working earlier today. On Miramar, in this sort of situation, might not be the best call. One wrong fight could be the difference of you basically leaving yourself with no chances to get points today. For Group Green, that would mean no chances remaining over the course of the survival stage as well. So big pressure, big momentum shift needs to happen. Zone shift, though, is going to cause a bit of a cascade. Everyone wanted to get themselves into the center circle as quick as possible. But look at Mad Bulls, miles away, taking a slow turn on things, wanting to just take their time with a rotate on this.
Yeah, slowing it down massively, and that's fair enough for the Mad Bulls. I think they want to just confirm some more consistent placements here in these final couple of games. They know that they've done a lot already in the lobby to see themselves pretty safe here. Like you said, it's very hard to say what is safe, honestly, at this point in time, because there could be a massive jump up from all 16 teams tomorrow in both Group Yellow and Group Red. But we'll see what happens. For Mad Bulls, I would say that they've done really, really well for both their region as well as themselves, getting themselves fairly decently confirmed towards that last chance. There is still more to be done in those 2 days following, but at least they get a break in between. For some of these other squads at the moment, there is some serious pressure on them. But Miramar, obviously, one of those matches where you really want to keep all 4 players alive towards that end game, and a lot of teams are looking to pick up some central positions early on. Rejects still following that same mentality of picking up that central spot at the beginning of the game. They've done a great job to do it down towards this south side already. This will see them in a good position to pick up some more of those points. Yes, they're not picking up those big chicken dinners, but they are very much definitely in that top 3 a lot of the time now. So, you know, I think they are another team that just felt the pressure from yesterday, weren't able to play comfortably, a little bit fidgety in their seats, but this time they are definitely playing much more how we saw in that Group Green, where they look like a formidable team, let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely a facelift that I think both of us are pretty happy to witness here, looking a lot more like themselves. Interesting game so far. Few skirmishes, few fights just to get the backs up of other opponents. A lot of control of the map here being fought for. Peppered bullets being thrown in the direction of Gladiators now, though, as Tixie and co start to scout out, fan themselves around and look for the information on the rotate with the vehicles. Levi's really hoping for a heavy hit on this. He's got the bullets for it. Man's got 200 rounds in the back pocket, so he's willing to just fire off a few warning shots and keep looking for damage. Here's the overall lay of the land, though, the way things are looking with the map. It's Alter Ego that are barely coming up towards the entry point here as well. That would be Udo Alliance that have to fight through if they head into the zone. And they've got, again, another nice spread. Udo Alliance, I have enjoyed the way they've been playing, Blank, in terms of relying on each other as duos. Feels like they have a lot of faith in their setups where they'll play off each other's contact. And they're probably going to be tested by Melise as well with this. So this actually might be an opportunity to see if their combat skill is looking as drilled as it has been over the course of the day.
Yeah, for Udo Alliance, I think they've had some really, really strong like edge play style where they'll play off one another, and I think that they're cautious enough to actually go for that play style as well, where they won't push out the boat too far a lot of times, which is something that's very rare to see in these edge style teams. I think sometimes it's all or nothing for some of these squads, but these esports certainly have been plagued by that curse a few times so far already. But it's been pleasing to see Udo Alliance being able to really show a masterclass of how to do this one in the survival stage. For some of these teams towards that northern side, moving through Monte Nuevo, a little bit open area down towards Chumacera at the moment. Also a bit of a horrid position to play. I think Nigma Galaxy quite happy over towards the north side of Chimusera right now with relative safety, being able to have a good outlook over towards some of these players that are down towards the northern edge on the low ground at the moment. Reject still just holding on to this central position though, and I think for them, again, it's just nice to see them play much more like usual. FaZe, I want to see another big game out of this team, actually. They're quite central as well, currently challenging Reject out for their spot, and I think Mella's really proven his worth on this squad, but I don't want to see as much scrappy, like we're going to get 7 eliminations on this match and go down in 7th place. I'd like to see a much higher placing with a much more confident finish here.
Visualize that roadmap, that end goal early, have a good understanding of the way you want to play it, the way you want it to finish before you get there. Frozen throwing out bullets here down range. You've got great high ground, great understanding of where everyone is. Oh, Frozen, he's been drawn into a fair few fights today that he's looked so confident in, and seeing Frozen playing with confidence is really fun to watch because you know he's a bit of a one-man army. You know that he can take these fights and single-handedly win them pretty confidently when he is playing his best. And the fact that he's instigating a lot of these, looking to just try and pick up elims where possible off the skin of his own back, and his team's giving him the extra range to do so, bodes well. It makes me think they're all feeling pretty confident individually. That might have been an air of overconfidence though. Gladiators on a scouting mission have been skewered. Duxan have engaged onto them, found the first knock. Matic has to get haphazard with the automatic because he sprays back some bullets. Yeah, tag sure, but not actually finding any frags out of it. Driving and healing, that's illegal, but he will pull it off and get himself back in the zone. So Hoxie being able to maintain good movement here as well and get ahead of Gladiators. This has worked out pretty well for them on the rotate, unless they get mowed down. Meku on the hillside flank. They thought their bad days were over. They thought it was safe to go back into the water, but Meku is there.
Yeah, Meku's been having some really good off angles this tournament so far, and being able to pick up some of these eliminations despite losing one player will be really, really nice for the points totals. They desperately need them on board at this point in time, so I think Meku will be fairly happy with this one. Finished off a couple more as well. Hoxie and Zipian go down, so 3 eliminations for their troubles losing Tixi. It's decent, but you can see DXavier off in the distance there, down towards their south side. They'll be continuing to cause them problems in towards the future, and it's Alter Ego take the fight to Mad Bulls, who just have had a bit of a struggle so far.
How far is this struggle going to go, though? Will this be struggle street for them? Or is it just the struggle bus that potentially they can hop off at the next stop? They do go for the getaway mission. Seems like retreat is better right now. So they try and back away. Oh, look at this. Matic getting an understanding of where exactly Quest is situated. Quest in a vehicle graveyard at the minute. Just smoke and burn tires all around them. And now they're getting smoked a bit more literally as Levi's lurking